So A Taste of the Heights is a slow episode, but it's a good episode nonetheless because it's establishing several different plot points that we need to know for season 7 going forward, and I really liked what it was establishing. And I will say, Micaiah Cox is the absolute star of this episode. Every scene she was in was awesome, as well as Dr. Facilier. I really, really liked Dr. Facilier, and I cannot wait to see more of him. In fact, I'm kind of glad that the beginning of season 7 was the Lady Tremaine arc, and now we have the Facilier arc. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Facilier interact with Mother Gothel. And we'll talk about Mother Gothel at the end of this review. Now, in terms of what this episode was setting up, it's setting up the Facilier and Regina relationship, the Tiana and Naveen relationship, and the introduction of the serial killer to those in Hyperion Heights. So there's a lot of storylines that were happening, and they were all pretty good. And I'm really invested in seeing what's going to be going on as the season plays out. Now, I will say that the budget of the episode was not spent well, because I feel it's either going to the actors' paychecks or it went to the Gator, but we barely saw the Gator, so I wonder why very little magic was used. Like when Facilier was healing Naveen, his hand didn't even glow. And normally, at least when they do healing magic, the hand glows. It was just the sound. So I was a little bummed out by that. So in the episode, we have a Blind Witch version 2 who is, she didn't die, but she was chained, and she was essentially going to be poisoned by gas from an oven. So that's what Rumple and Rogers are doing, or Weaver and Rogers are doing. They're, trying to figure out who's behind the attack, or, trying to solve who attacked Dr. Sage, and then, they're dealing with this Blind Witch who did nothing in the flashback. And then you have Tiana and Naveen in the flashback, teaming up to find the Gator, and in reality, it's really all planned out by Facilier, who is trying to get a necklace from the alligator and give it to Regina, and apparently Regina and Facilier have a love connection. Now, one thing I'm really curious about is Facilier from Enchanted Forest version 1 or version 2? Because he talks about knowing Regina when she was in her prime, the prime evil queen stage, not Regina that we know. So I wonder if he, hops between worlds. So I think that's a very interesting concept. Though, I feel like it'd be very hard to fit in Facilier into the evil queen's past, because Regina's evil queen past is very much fleshed out through the past 6 seasons. So I think throwing another evil queen flashback in there might be a little contrived. In fact, I think it'd be more interesting to see Facilier kind of tempt her when she's good Regina in season 7. And then we also had the Jacinda and Henry storyline, which was my least favorite storyline, but I did like that Lucy, was like, oh no, they can't kiss. We can't have true love happen because, Henry will die. And I'm like, oh no, don't worry about it, because there's no true love there. They have no chemistry. I don't believe it. In all honesty, I felt the chemistry between Micaiah Cox and Prince Naveen's actor than I did Danya Ramirez and Andrew J. West. And if Naveen and Tiana had kissed in the present, totally would have bought it. By the way, I love Zelina's little switcheroo with Regina when they were pretending to be the opposite person. I thought that was really well done. And Rebecca Mader had very little to do in this episode, which was unfortunate. And speaking of little to do, obviously none, Mother Gothel and Drusilla were not in this episode. Now, I know that both Emma Booth and Adelaide Kane are technically guest starring, but I have to say, since they were so prevalent last week, and they've been so prevalent in the prior 11 episodes, or prior 10 episodes, that it bothers me that they have no screen time, especially, since Gothel's coven is the Coven of 8, you would think that she would care that people are going after her witches, and then you'd think Drusilla would have more time to react to her mother's death beyond the little moment she had in Secret Garden at the end of it. So I do think that's a little sloppy in terms of the writing, but maybe next week we'll get to see Drusilla, deal with her mother's death. But overall, the episode was fun. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. The end of it with Facilier, or Samdi, being awake was interesting, and then Regina going into his apartment. So I'm curious what's going to happen with their relationship. The kiss, by the way, in the flashback between Regina and Facilier did kind of gross me out, because it felt, I mean, it made sense, but I was like, no, I don't ship this. I don't ship this yet. So I wonder, do you guys ship Regina and Facilier already? And what did you think about Henry and Cinderella, or Jacinda. I almost forgot her name. What did you guys think of Cinderella? Wow, Henry and Jacinda's, relationship trying to blossom throughout this episode? I would say it's kind of weak, but you know that. Again, I really enjoyed every scene with Makia Cox. I thought that was really fun. But at this point, I really just want to see this War of the Witches start to come out. And I have a couple comments about the War of the Witches that I'll talk about in the trailer review. But I would say overall that this episode was fun. It was setting up stuff. It wasn't like super nitty gritty. It wasn't super action packed. But from what we saw, it was great. Also, the callback to when, not the callback, but the scene where Zelena, Regina, and Rumpel were all together. I love that as well. I thought that was really fun. I don't understand why the writers don't want to have Andrew J. West talk to Rebecca Mader at all on screen. It really bothers me. They only exchanged one sentence. I've said many times I would love to see Zelena and Henry have some type of relationship. It's one thing that neither character has, and it's also a thing that viewers rarely ever get to see a nephew and aunt or aunt and niece really have like a really good on-screen relationship. It's very rare, particularly between nephew and aunt. And we have that pairing right here, and they completely ignore it. And it's not like I need the representation to be happy, but it's there. Do it. Please, do it. But it was fun. It was fun. I do feel the friendship between Sabine and Jacinda very well, especially in the beginning of the episode. I thought it's very clear. And I really like the fact that Cinderella and Tiana, their relationship is relatively starting to be shown in the flashback here. The costumes in the flashback, actually, I did like a lot as well. I've had issues with the costumes since Eduardo Castro left the show after season 6 because he was really an artist when it came to costume design. And I did feel the costumes were really well done. So what did you guys think of this episode? And also, I wanted to say thank you for everyone who shared how you got into Once Upon a Time stories with me. I really appreciated you guys responding to my question. And I liked reading everyone's story. It was really nice. Now, I have a follow-up to that. Since I noticed so many of you own Netflix, will you, after Disney starts the streaming service, A, purchase the streaming service, or cancel your Netflix to have the service? So essentially, would you pay for 2 streaming services? I pay for Hulu and Netflix right now anyway, but I wonder if there's that third one that comes up, would you cut one or would you get all 3? Because at this point, it's just going to be like a package deal. So many of you watch Once on Netflix. I do wonder, if Once will get pulled because it's a Disney property onto the streaming service. And if you guys, just to see any Disney material would just be like, oh, buy Netflix, see you later. And just go to the Disney streaming service. So I pose that for the next question. I like how I have like a question of the week thing going on now. So anyway, share your thoughts about the episode in the comments below. I thought both the flashback and the present day storyline were very tight. That was one thing that the trailer, and I'll talk about the trailer again in a few minutes. That was one thing the trailer did scare me. It seemed like there was going to be like 4 or 5 storylines going on. And this was relatively concise. It showed Tiana and Naveen in the flashback, Tiana and Naveen in the present. It showed Jacinda and Henry in the present. And it showed, Facilier interacting with Ronnie in the present, and as well as Facilier interacting with Ronnie in the past. Like it was very fluid. It was very concise. I'm very glad that and the murder, the reveal of the murder, who I really do think is Facilier, was woven in there really well. So the writing was very well done. In fact, I think adding Gothel and adding Drizella would have made it a bit. Let me get the word out. It would have made it a little bit more discombobulated, but it's still something I think that could have been added quickly, or you could have even just pulled out the Tiana storyline altogether, but I think that would have made, not Tiana, the Cinderella and Henry storyline altogether. But anyway, share your thoughts in the comments below on the episode. Thank you so much for watching my review, and we'll talk real soon. All right, guys. Bye.